So, most people knee-jerk about the Holocaust. Fair enough. Fair enough. But liberalism, socialism, fascism, anarchism, and any other ideology all rest atop a foundation of corpses. 100% true. There is not a single ideology or civilization that does not rest upon the foundation of corpses. And you know what the problem is? It doesn't matter what kind of civilization you build. It will be built on the foundation of human skulls. Hands down, no. Because you literally have to wipe out the human race, repopulate with innocent baby angels who never did anything, and then build from scratch. That's the only way you could do it. Because even if you were to build the most utopian leftist ideology and you didn't have to murder anybody to get there, it would still be built upon a liberal empire that is on those foundations of skulls, just like the liberal empire is built upon a less liberal empire that was built upon a foundation of skulls. This is the way it is. This is humanity. This is how we are. It's a feature, not a bug. But liberalism is the only one that actually has built anything good. The others only offer corpses. Also true, but that's not the whole argument. The whole argument. I finally set up my walking pad. That's awesome, dude. Good to hear. It does feel quite weird, but it'll take some time to get used to. Yeah, I got used to it fairly easily. Mine just kept breaking. But it's because I didn't actually get good ones. I need to stop buying the cheap ass ones, and I looked at Josh Strife Hayes as doing his whole like workout arc, and I need to get his, but it's like $500 fucking dollars, and you know I'm not that rich. So liberalism is the only one that has actually built anything good. True. The others only offer corpses. True, but that's not the whole argument. The whole argument is not just that liberalism is the only one that has actually built anything good. This is true, but it's also the fact that liberalism is the only ideology that we currently have that admits its own faults and seeks to correct them through its own mechanisms, right? This is why we have things like amendments to the Constitution. So if we determine that, hey, you know, this thing that's easy to get now, like imagine we invented replicators tomorrow, and then we started building fusion power plants. So we had free power, infinite free power, replicators, we had free food, free clothes, free everything. And so it would literally cost 1,000th of a cent for the government to make you an entire wardrobe and feed you for like a week, right? If it costs that little, guess what? Food, clothing, shelter would become a right immediately. Access to energy, a right, would become immediately. It'd probably be codified in the Constitution. Guaranteed, dude, guaranteed. If we found a way to make it so cheap that it was essentially free, that's exactly what would happen. Because I can't say that I wouldn't spend, you know, $1 of my taxes to make sure that every person in America has access to free energy, to free unlimited energy, and a replicator so they can get food, clothing, and shelter. And any other knick-knackable amenities that we have. Like, I can't believe anyone would say no to that. Because half the reason that people bitch about our tax dollars being spent on shit that's wasteful is because taxes are so high and you waste so much money. But if your taxes were next to nothing, but people got free shit, hardly anybody would give a fuck. Like all the arguments about fucking wasting money and food, you know, what's it called? Welfare queens and people who scam the government for money in that way for welfare, almost all of that shit would disappear because nobody gives a fuck. Who gives a fuck? Who gives a fuck? Right? Now that everybody has this, the left can't continue to bitch about, oh, they live in squalor, they live in... No. Everybody literally has as much food and as much good food as they could possibly have. They have as much energy as they possibly need, and they have all the clothes and all the shelter they'll ever need. Now there's no excuses. So anyway, back to this. Again, liberalism is one of the only ones that actually not only corrects its faults when it finds them, but it seeks them out through our open discourse and dialogue. Almost none of these others, other than anarchism, but we don't need to talk about that. That's just retarded. Socialism and fascism and communism and all the other ideologies seek to limit the power of the people and the voice of the people to converse with one another. Almost all of them do. Even like mercantilism, monarchism, they all put power They all put power in the hands of people that will absolutely censor the public if they don't like what they're saying. And they will find a way to justify it and do it. And they do that in liberal governments too, but it's a lot harder because we have like a basic right to free speech, at least here in the United States. And so if I want to tell the cops, fuck you, motherfucker, I don't like you, go fuck yourself, I can, and there's not a goddamn thing they can do about that or arrest me for saying that. Many of them will do so, and I'll sue the fuck out of them. Many of them will give me shit for it, and you could potentially sue them too, right? So you are free from the government arresting you for the things that you say, unless you're actually doing calls to action for violence and stuff. Those things are actually legal. And so not only do we seek to make ourselves better, right? We seek to be better than we were in the past. Socialism and fascism and communism and all the rest do not do that. Liberalism actively seeks to be better than we were yesterday, right? Liberalism always takes the next step. None of the other ideologies do. And why? How do I know this? Because our country was built upon manifest destiny. What does that mean? Well, that means we basically pushed out all the fucking Indians and stole all their fucking land, killed a bunch of them, and took it. Because we could. Yeah. And guess what? That was wrong. It was. And we recognize that, and we say it is. But if we were fascist or socialist or any of these, or communist or whatever, like think about it like this. How do the America bad people talk about us? Well, they say we're genociders, because of the manifest destiny shit that I was just talking about. Now imagine America was founded on communism. Do you think the communists would call manifest destiny bad? Do you? Do you think they would call the genocide of the Indians bad if it was done in the name of communism? I don't think so. With socialism? I don't think so. With fascism? Don't think so. Liberalism? 100%. Absolutely. If slavery of Africans was a communist fucking program, they would be cheering it on. Simple as. Period. If the United States was founded on communism and not liberalism, and they still had the African slave trade, they would cover it the fuck up and try to minimize it as much as possible. This is exactly what they do with all the atrocities that fucking all the communists and socialists and fascists do. They try to minimize every bit of it. And here in the West, here in liberalism, yeah, there are people who try to minimize it. Absolutely 100%. But the rest of us are like, no, fuck you. This is what happened. Now, technically, there wasn't a genocide of the Indians. They died due to the vast majority of them died to disease. I was using language that would make it more visceral for you to hear. Now, that doesn't mean that we didn't take certain tribes and completely evacuate them from the earth. That is absolutely true. But we didn't genocide the race. We destroyed tribes and moved them, like with the Trail of Tears and all this other stuff. It was really fucking bad. But you have to use the correct words. So, I didn't. I used it for inflammatory purposes. Fair enough. And I'm letting you know that. That's why I'm saying it. And so it's just like when it's just like this. Let me if I can find it. Star Trek Riker. There are. See if I can find the clip. No. I'm gonna have to go in a second. My son.
When Starfleet's Fleet magazine.
Okay. No, that's not it. Not it. Not it. Of course it wouldn't be on there. Anyway, so there was an episode where Picard got relieved of command so that he could go do some crazy mission, right? And Riker is talking to the captain who was put in his place, and he says the whole line about why are you here? What are you doing? And Riker says, to better myself. And then the captain then says, better than who, Commander? Better than who? As if that's some kind of gotcha. When the correct answer is better than I was yesterday. And the reason I bring that up is because that is what liberalism does. Is it seeks to be better. It seeks to expand as human rights as much as possible until we have reached the point where there are no more rights to expand to. Right? We'll never reach utopia. That's never going to happen. But we can get really fucking close. And one of the things that the ideology of liberalism does is it seeks to continuously improve itself and refine itself so that it's doing the correct thing. And this is what I think progressives don't tend to get, is they tend to be so progressive that they metastasize it in their brain and they end up doing unprogressive things. Like, for instance, the seven fucking dwarves in the new Snow White movie, the jobs were not given to dwarves. At first, they were just given to random people, And then they CGI the fuck out of them. Instead of just, I don't know, maybe hiring a bunch of fucking dwarves so that they can motherfucking play the roles and get jobs. Like Peter fucking Dinklage, who was the one who was like, it's so, what did he say? It was so demeaning and all this other shit. But it's like, bro, you've been an actor your entire life and you've been getting roles that were designed for short people, for little people. What the fuck are you doing? Like, he literally played a character that was supposed to be a dwarf in Game of Thrones. Like in the books, he's a fucking dwarf. What the fuck? It's because they're magical dwarves that exist in some fantastical. It doesn't fucking matter. And so they're being so progressive to be like, it's offensive to have dwarves. And no, it's not. It's a fucking fairy tale. It's meant to be fantastical. We talk about, you can have dragons, but you can't have black people. It's like, motherfucker, you can have fucking magical poison apples, but you can't actually hire dwarves to play the fucking dwarves that are in the goddamn fucking thing. Like, Jesus motherfucking Christ, what the fuck is wrong with you? And so they turn around and the progressives end up doing the anti-progressive thing because they like retardedly think that being progressive means not hiring people for jobs that they are perfectly suited to. About 2 miles an hour. Nice. Yeah, that's pretty good. I usually just slow walk. It's better for your ability to play games. And like I said, so we in any of these, this is not why fascism is inherently wrong. It's just one of the aspects that makes liberalism better than socialism, fascism, communism, and all the other isms that existed before it, with the one exception being monarchy. And the only reason that has an exception is because there are instances in which monarchies have been implemented where they are actually relatively decent. Where they're either a figurehead for state and they really are basically about national identity, or they are benevolent monarchs that have very little power except for like wartime capability, right? And there aren't many of those in our modern world, and most of the ones in the past were all essentially might as well have been fascist dictatorships for all we care, right? But fascism didn't exist back then, and neither did dictatorships in the way we think about it. And so they were monarchies because, it's about how the actual thing is structured, right? A feudal monarchy is structured in a certain way that does not exist the same way in a fascist or most dictatorships, right? So we can't really use that language, even though it sort of kind of gives you an idea of what's going on. It's just very different because of it. And the other characters constantly remind him of being a dwarf. He even points out himself in one of the first episodes. Yes. That you should never forget what you are, because the world surely will not. You should wear it as armor, and it can never be used against you. Bingo. Exactly. It's so fucking ironic that he literally plays a character that is a dwarf that says that, and then he turns around and does the progressive brain rot of denying 7 other dwarves the ability to be in a motherfucking show. Not only that, he was a dwarf in the one of the Thor movies. I can't remember which one it was. It was Guardians of the Galaxy 3, I think it was. He was a dwarf in that one. Except the dwarves in the mythologies are gigantic. They're huge. They are giants. And he played a dwarf. It just happened to be a giant who is a dwarf. Because that's the way it is there. And it's just like one of those things where, it's Infinity War. Excuse me, I apologize. Not Guardians of the Galaxy 3. Wait, is it? Is it Infinity War? Yeah, it's got to be. It's got to be, because that's where he gets his axe. He goes there to forge. Yeah. It is. You're right. Absolutely. My bad. So bad Tango. Bad. And so that's another one where he plays a dwarf. Even though it's like it's supposed to be comical, like they're literally making fun of him for being a dwarf and him being gigantic. Like, that's the whole joke. It's a fucking joke. They made fun of you, dude, for being short, and you did it because you wanted the fucking paycheck. But you're denying other people paychecks to play magical, fantastical dwarves in a fucking fairy tale. What the fuck? Progressive brain rot, bro. Progressive brain rot. This is why progressives are not liberals. This is why they don't call themselves liberals. This is why they give liberal shit. It's because progressives are not actually progressive. They're just brain-rotted assholes. The horseshoe theory is absolutely true, and they will come around. They've already come around to being racist. Of course they're going to be fucking over dwarves if they're going to be racist as fuck and sexist as fuck, right? Hands down. Period. No questions. And on that note, I need